And we are live with episode 137 of the Start Bill Grow Show. Randy Brothers, my friend, what's going on in your world? How we doing?
What is up, Nick? What is up, Facebook world and podcast land? Man, we're just talking about this backstage. We're almost 3 years into this deal. Facebook hasn't kicked us off. We still get at least 4 or 5 people watching. So hey, man, this has been a successful adventure, and it just keeps getting better. You guys are crushing it on the production side. And we're blessed with 2 awesome guests today with lots of energy, great personalities, and really cool stories. Man, I've known Dylan, 10 years, 12 years now, man. We go back,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
been in the roofing space and a very, very entrepreneurial mind. And he's out there looking for ways to solve problems in the roofing business. And his latest venture, I'm excited to kind of learn more about because he's solving a problem that we all struggle with, and especially those of us in these inflated hail markets that we have to scale up and scale down really fast. How do we solve the material challenge? So I'm excited to tell the story, man. Welcome in, Dylan and Celeste.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. So we always like to kind of share the backstory, how you guys kind of got into this space and everything like that. So Celeste, we'll start with you. How about kind of your background and kind of how you got involved with RUNR? So what's your background and your career background?
Yeah, so when I first moved to Colorado, I got a job working for a third-party logistics company called Worldwide Express. We started out reselling DHL services, so small parcel services. And then they pulled out of the US. We ended up partnering with UPS. And then alongside of that, we formed partnerships with all of the major LTL carriers, as well as full truckload. And then that moved into air freight and ocean freight. So I owned and operated a franchise selling third-party logistics to small to medium-sized businesses for about 10 years. And then sold my franchise, got out of that. And then Dylan approached me. I was actually chefing at a restaurant at the time, and I owned a restaurant, and Dylan would always come eat at my restaurant. And he asked me if I was interested in this opportunity because he had this RUNR idea, and it sounded very similar to the services that Worldwide had offered, but I wasn't kind of ready at the time. And then unfortunately, due to COVID, we closed our restaurant, and he had reached back out to me randomly, and I was like, sure, it sounds great. It's actually perfect timing. And the opportunity is so similar to what I experienced at Worldwide. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to start working with him. I've known him for a long time too. So it was an easy decision for me.
How, if you don't mind, I want to dive into that a little bit. I mean, we talk, we're in roofing, we're in construction. We've been, so lucky to, throughout this pandemic and 2020 and all the craziness to somewhat maintain, right? It's affected us all, regardless. But, for speaking on behalf of some of the people out there in the restaurant world and stuff like that, what are some, what was that like, going through that process and having to shut down your business? I just can't imagine. I'm coming from left field here, but I think the audience would like to, and I'm curious as well as to, what's that like having to kind of go through that process?
Oh man. Well, we were only about 2 years in. So it was the first restaurant that I owned. It was a fast casual Hawaiian poke restaurant. And we, right in February, right before COVID, was the best month that we had. So we had finally started getting some traction. We were going to start doing separate clubs. So we were just seeing this awesome success and growth. And then COVID hit in March, and everything we worked for over the winter and for the past, 2 years kind of just went down the drain. And at first we're like, okay, we're going to get through it. We're going to push through summer. And then I think September hit, and they announced the next 25%, or maybe it was in October, the 25% capacity. And I was working there by myself almost every single day. I mean, I was opening the restaurant, taking orders, answering the phone, making food, doing dishes, mopping the floor, closing the restaurant, doing all that. And it was stressful. And when we realized that it wasn't worth it for us to be open anymore, because it was just too much emotional and physical stress for me, I think I cried for like 12 hours straight. And then we finally made the decision, like, hey, this isn't working. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. So it's a struggle when you're brand new, to try and make sense of keeping doors open. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand the true cost of dining out. And so, it's hard to increase your pricing and make people still feel comfortable coming to your restaurant and paying for high quality food and service. But man, it was a struggle. Nothing about it was easy. And it was really sad and it was hard. But closing the doors was a weight lifted, I think. And I think a lot of other restaurant owners, as shitty as that may be, I think they felt that same relief, because being open is just so stressful if you're doing it as a small business owner. These larger restaurants, I think, are able to kind of manage it a little bit better, but there were really only two of us. So
I mean, it's your whole life. I mean, it's all day, every day, all in, all the time. There's no separation of family, business, work life. It's just always there, always on. And I just can imagine. And I haven't been an entrepreneur in the restaurant space, but I went through school in restaurants. My dad had parents had a little pizza shop growing up as a kid, and man, it's definitely. We'd come home from school and go straight to the shop. We'd be there all night long. And while mom and dad were doing everything, like, my stepmom and dad were doing everything, cooking pizzas and cash register, and the kids in the back I was like making pizzas when I was 10 years old. Don't tell anybody, but
good for you though. Good for you.
Right. But it's definitely, a challenging business to begin with, let alone pile on a pandemic on top of that,
Yeah. And the summer months were our busiest, like months, spring to fall was the busiest time. So being shut down during our busiest season was just so detrimental to our spirits and our overall business.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you made it through, bounced back, and
I did.
Learned. What are some there's people out there watching that. I think there's really, really appreciating the story. I'm getting a bunch of like thumbs up and hearts and all that stuff. What's the biggest takeaway? What's the biggest thing you've learned through that process?
Oh man, my business partner and I were always talking about like the bigger picture, and the whole time, this whole entire time that we've had this restaurant, we're like, there's a bigger picture out there. We just don't know what it is yet. And for me, I never thought that I would ever own a restaurant. I'm just kind of like, I was a private chef for a few years, and I'm like, I'm never going to do it. There's no way. The door opened and I walked through it, and I think I was able to provide the city and feed people that I would not normally be able to feed. So the relationships and the amount of work that I put into it, and that we both as partners put into it, was priceless. I mean, doing something like that and knowing that if only this pandemic hadn't happened, we would still be doing it. But haven't figured out the reason yet. But as far as what I've learned, God, that's kind of a hard question, because there's so many different things along the way as far as what you are capable of. Like, I didn't think that I was capable of withstanding any of the things that we went through. But I also learned that quality of life is really important too. And so, especially at the end when I was stressed every day, it doesn't matter, as passionate as I was about keeping the restaurant open, if you're not mentally healthy, or if your heart isn't healthy, no matter what you do, you're not going to be in a happy position. So I'm appreciating, thank you to Dylan, appreciating like a normal job again, where I'm kind of back in an industry that, while it's a little bit slow right now, is not, hasn't been as affected by the pandemic as the restaurant industry. So I'm learning to just enjoy the downtime that I have and not having any stress in my life in that regard.
That's huge. Quality of life. I think a lot of us can take that away. Most everybody watching this is entrepreneurs or has aspiration of being an entrepreneur. And we love that, right? We support, that's what we're all about. What I'm all about is helping support entrepreneurship. But, there's nothing worth sacrificing your life for.
Mm-hmm.
Quality of life. So you got to make sure that as you dive into entrepreneurship, you can always have a sense of, work life. What's that it's kind of a four-letter word at this point, work-life balance, right? But have that balance to where you can still keep your sanity and keep your heart and your mind and your spirit in a good solid place. Because if those things are solid, the business stuff you can just work through. It just ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
kind of carries on. So that was a nice little sidetrack. Dylan, my
Thanks,
man.
sorry.
Oh, that was great.
No, that was a great story.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Dylan.
Yes, sir.
How did you get into roofing, my friend? Like, where'd you come from? And how'd you get into roofing? And what's your entrepreneurial journey like?
Yeah, so I think ever since I was 12 years old, when I had a baseball card shop that I ran out of my house, I've always known that like I was going to be an entrepreneur and that was going to be my path to success. When I was 18, I started a valet business. Ran that for a couple of years. It crashed and burned as many other ventures have along the way. And then I was fortunate enough, got into banking in the early 2000s and helped a guy grow a business from zero to sold, and saw all of the growing pains associated with creating a business, structuring a business, but then didn't reap any of the financial rewards because I didn't have any of the ownership. So exited the banking business, started Eco Roof and Solar in 2010 with Ryan Nichols, who's my partner in that business. And similar to Celeste's journey, like we started with our backs thoroughly up against the wall. I think we had $8,000 between the two of us to start it, and got lucky really early on and had a bunch of early success. Learned a ton of lessons along the way, and we're able to successfully grow that business. And I learned a lot along that process. And you had mentioned, earlier on in the intro that, we have to be able to scale and you have to be able to grow your business and you have to be able to do it efficiently and effectively. And that's what led me to start RUNR. We looked at it and we said, there are some things within the roofing space that we think we could do better. We could help give contractors tools to operate their businesses better. And it was purely born out of my own frustrations and my own money losing experiences and failures within the roofing business that we started Eco. And so in 2019, about May of 2019, we started the technical development for both the application and the web development for the software, and launched the business in January of 2020 at the CRA. If anybody's familiar with that, it's the Colorado Roofing Association convention. And it was, if anybody's ever participated in any conventions, usually you're like jockeying to try to get people to come to your booth and talk to you. It's very forward sales, I would say. It was the most receptive convention experience I've ever had, where people were coming up and they're like, man, I had this idea 2 years ago. I'm so mad I didn't start it. And so we felt like, this is easy, hard part's over. We've got customers, we're ready to roll. And, COVID happens, the whole world shuts down, basically, what I would say going into what would normally be roofing's busy season. And so, I got to navigate launching a startup during a pandemic, which I wouldn't do again if I had the choice, but it was definitely a learning experience. And so early on, it was frustrating. We couldn't go meet with people. We couldn't generate the traditional sales funnel that I think we were all so used to doing up until that point. And so we had to pivot and try to be successful other ways. And so this is, the kind of the continuation of that journey. And, we're super appreciative for the opportunity to come on the podcast and talk about our services with you guys.
Absolutely. So sounds like we got two entrepreneurs that have done multiple businesses, one with a specialty of logistics and one with a specialty of roofing and the understanding of that customer. So how is that beginning stages of developing this app and the whole process of building the technology out?
Frustrating, to say the least. There's a couple of rules in software, and I've built a couple of pieces of software with varying degrees of success, but everything costs twice as much and takes twice as long. And so, you get scope creep, you get setbacks, you get, technically that's not possible. You get all of the roadblocks that you would experience in any other business. But just there's no clear path through a lot of those challenges, and so as an entrepreneur, I was just kind of considered myself to be like the Michael Jordan of solving problems. Where you're just like, there isn't a problem in my life that I haven't been able to solve at this point. So this just presented many more problems at a much higher rate, much earlier on in the process than I think any other venture that I've ever experienced. So it was rocky, to say the least, and it continues to be that way. But it's also fun, and it's a learning experience. So I appreciate it for that.
100%. Yeah, it's super cool. So let's dive into RUNR a little bit in terms of what functionality you guys offer currently, what you guys can currently do for roofing contractors, and geographically where you guys are able to deliver right now, and then what the plan is for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, 2020 was testing the business case, right? And when I say that, I mean, do we have a viable business? Will customers use us? Is it something that we can scale potentially, hopefully profitably in the future? And so, when we were looking at RUNR, we looked at the roofing business as a whole, and we said, what's the supplier shopping experience like? And then what's the technical platforms that exist for that shopping experience, right? And so if anybody's been to a supply house, you walk in, it's a couple of desk guys, it's a pot of burnt coffee, right? It's some accessories and stuff that you're never going to need or you don't typically buy, right? It's not a real like positive shopping experience. And so we said, okay, well, that's not valuable to our contractors. So if there's an e-commerce solution that eliminates that kind of in-person shopping experience, let's explore that. And so, at the time, Roof Hub, Beacon, they were kind of all in their infancy in terms of their e-commerce experience and their applications that they had. And so we said, let's take a shot at it. Let's see if we can build a better e-commerce solution, with the focus being, 2-hour last mile, like final nail in the shingle delivery to help our contractors at 4:00 on a Friday when they need to finish that project up so that they can get on to the next project. Let's see if we can be that delivery partner for them, save them a little bit of money, because I know that if they're sending a production assistant, a superintendent, or worse, a salesperson to the supplier and then back to the job site, that's not going to be the best use of that person's time. And so we just thought, can we outsource this? Is there some unit economics that we can utilize to be able to put multiple contractors' orders in the same van, accrete some value there, and save our contractors a little bit of money, and then make a little bit of money along the way as well. And so that's what this year was about, was proving that model out. And so we've been able to do that successfully along the Front Range. And then, this year our plan is Texas, Florida, and Missouri area, St. Louis, Kansas City. So that's our expansion model for this year.
So that's why you're in Florida while the rest of us are freezing.
Yeah, that's right.
He's enjoying like 80-degree weather, Randy.
Oh man, it was foggy and frozen this morning.
To be fair, I did have to get up at 3 a.m. to get down here, so it's not, it's not all wind.
I show no sympathy. So, Randy, what do you think of RUNR? What do you think of this concept? How much time are our contractors wasting, do you think, running around, grabbing materials? How much waste could there be because they're ordering too much? I mean, give us the roofer inside.
Well, I mean, you just kind of opened up a can of worms there, because, in our business, a lot of us, right, in all the markets you're talking about, and where this really makes sense is storm markets, right? Roofing contractors have to be able to expand and contract at different times of the year and when different opportunities happen. And that's really hard to do from a production side. You know, if you go from 1 to 3 to 5 to 10 roofs a day, it sometimes the opportunity presents itself and you want to be able to do that and scale your business, but so many challenges come along with that, because every single roof, whether you like it or not, it just seems like you can have the best process for ordering in the world, but one bundle of shingles is missing, or you're needing, you know, 10 feet of drip edge, or is it you're missing caulking, you're missing paint for the for the vents. Like seems like there's always something that just needs to be grabbed at the end of the job or throughout that job. And some of us over order intentionally to try to, okay, have all the materials, I'd rather return them. Then you're worried about return fees, and you're worried about like the logistics of returning jobs, or you under order, or you just order right enough knowing that, hey, every job I'm probably going to have to do a material run. The problem is you anticipate that one, and then you have 3 or 4. And you're like, oh, man, then it just becomes a total nightmare. Imagine, okay, 1 material run per job, and go from, a lot of contractors, let's say you've never done 5 roofs per day, right? That's a big benchmark, right? 5 roofs a day times 1 material run per job. That's a lot of running. That's too much for one person to even do. And the problem is you have to hire people to do that. You have to buy trucks. You got to have the person. You got to have the insurance. You got to have all the logistics in order to do that. You don't want crews, and you don't want, salespeople doing that, because you want them selling and producing and building and doing what they're supposed to be doing. Anybody should be able to just go get materials. So it becomes a challenge. Like, we have to always hire runners, like RUNR, great name, but that becomes a lot of challenge to try to do that, because you still want to be able to get the job done efficiently and on time and on budget, but you have to be able to hire a bunch of people. And then what happens when you slow down? Then you got to, figure that part out. So it's a major challenge. I mean, it's a big issue in our business, especially for those of us in the storm market with a big opportunity and with the scale rapidly. So having an outsource, because even though we do have runners, like, we were one of you guys' first users. Like, we
absolutely
we saw you at the we kind of helped pilot this thing with you, and we were one of the first. We saw you at the CRA show with the stickers all over the doors. I'm like, well, what's going on with this truck outside? What's going on here? And then I figured out it was you behind it all. I was like, oh, that's good. And so we met with you guys and kind of tested it out and kind of piloted some things with you. And it just makes a lot of sense to try to solve that problem, because it really just helps contractors avoid some of the headaches that they deal with when they're trying to navigate that sudden scale up, or 2 jobs. You just, that one job, oh crap, I need 5 months. What am I going to do? You have the ability to just send a message and get that within 2 hours. It's a great concept.
Yeah, I think, and the other thing that we found too is as we rely more and more heavily on technology, Eagle View, all the other aerial measuring softwares that exist, the margin for error has gone up significantly in terms of roof size. And if you're ordering off of those specifically, when we started in this business, those tools didn't exist, so you had to measure every roof, and it seemed like there was less waste, or at least less errors. But in the interest of efficiency with utilizing technology, it's just created a couple of other opportunities for us to step in and be a great partner. So we've found that as well, that just sometimes if you order off an Eagle View, you're just going to be off, because that's the nature of that piece of technology.
100%. So I wanted to take a quick break to give a thank you to our sponsors. And then from there, I want to dive into some tips that you guys might have for contractors to improve the management and the logistics of running multiple projects, and just kind of get some insight from you guys that these people can hopefully implement into their business. But of course, we're going to start with our headline sponsor, Job Nimbus.
Job Nimbus is a fully customizable back office solution.
Track leads, jobs, tasks from one easy-to-use software.
And with the largest ecosystem of integrated partners, if we don't do it, we have a friend who does.
Learn how the #1 back office system in roofing
can help you be efficient, be organized, be professional, and be profitable.
So if you guys have not checked out Job Nimbus yet, make sure you're checking them out and see what they can do for your business, right? info.jobnimbus.com/roofing Academy. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of these guys. I feel like you see them everywhere now online. Sumo Quote. Are you looking to stand out with your proposal? Sumo Quote is the contractor quote that crushes the competition. It is the fastest way to build custom quotes that impresses clients and wins more work. It's one of those must-have technologies for roofing contractors, allowing them to sell faster, sell more, and sell smarter. Be sure to check them out at try.sumoquote.com/start-build-grow. Make sure you're checking them out, that link, right? So try.sumoquote.com/start-build-grow. And last but not least, we got some more FaceTime with Randy on this commercial here.
If you're in the hail game, if you're working hail claims and selling roofs that have hail damage, you need to know where the hail is, how big the hail is, and when it hailed. I mean, if you're on the fence, it's a game changer.
Check them out, hailtrace.com. As always, thank you guys so much for sponsoring us and supporting us. All right, but now back to the show. Celeste, we'll start with you. I'm going to talk about the logistics of things. So, if we're looking at, roofing contractors who are doing multiple projects now, and maybe they're struggling to kind of understand logistically how to handle everything. I mean, do you have any specific tips for these guys that might be able to help them out?
Yeah, I think with RUNR, the beauty is that they have the ability to manage all of their logistics right from their phone. And so if they're on a job, they're short materials, they're using RUNR as an extension of their own team to help be more efficient and allow their people to complete their jobs. So using our platform allows them to have visibility of all of their projects going on at once, and also allows for them to see, maybe monitor like employees and what their habits are. So if you find that a certain employee is over ordering materials on a regular basis, or let's say they have 10 more runs in a week than another project manager or salesperson, it's a good way, using our system is a good way to kind of manage and find areas of improvement. So keeping an eye on our platform is a great way to kind of be more efficient. And then another area that I think, is really helpful is the return portion. Because as you talked about, a lot of times if there's overages at the end of the job because they just want to make sure that the job gets completed, they can use RUNR to pick up material from their job site and return it to any supplier. We have partnerships with all of the major suppliers. And then once we return that material on your behalf, it goes directly back onto your account with a credit. So that alleviates any type of extra windshield time that either the crew or the project manager or the salesperson is having.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question?
100%. Randy, how bad is windshield time for your company?
It's the biggest waste of time, man. It's the biggest efficiency killer in our market, especially. I mean, those of you in a small market, congratulations if you can get across town in 10 minutes. But in our market, in a lot of the major markets, if you're busy and you catch traffic, it could take you 3 hours, 4 hours round trip just to go get the small couple items that you need. And not only are you paying labor for that, what's the opportunity cost lost of having to do that and waste that time, that especially if like a salesperson or a service tech or somebody else is doing this, they could be focused on sales and growing and doing productive things for the business. So yeah, I mean, the efficiency window time is a killer in this business for sure.
So one question, so we had this from somebody, one of the viewers, Caesar, and I don't think you guys do this, but does RUNR keep inventory? I don't believe you guys do. You correct me if I'm wrong, but do you guys have any tips in terms of tracking inventory, anything like that for contractors out there?
Yeah, I think the beauty of RUNR is that we don't keep inventory, right? And so we've got accounts with all of the major suppliers. So if you're not able to source it from your supplier, then potentially we'll have an opportunity to do that with one of our partnerships. And so, in terms of tips for managing inventory, to me, the best part about roofing is the fact that none of us really have to manage any inventory, right? We fax an order in, the shingles get loaded up on the roof and we're starting construction the next day. The downside of that is we don't really build any infrastructure around managing inventory. So when we have it, either a shortage of it or then also an overage of it, we don't really have a solution. And that's why, most people, to Randy's point, in storm markets, we have to manage, a scalable network of contractors, both subcontractors and relationships. And so this is one of those scalable relationships that helps you solve those problems. And windshield time is a killer, obviously, as Randy said, but I always found that whenever we had returns, it was a customer service issue because you'd be leaving it on their lawn, it would yellow their grass, and it became more of a problem than actually getting the materials back to the supplier. So, we look at that return function as more of a customer service win, than definitely just a production savings.
100%. Christian just asked, is this just for residential roofers?
No. Commercial, residential, any roofing product that can be bought in any of these suppliers, we can deliver.
So it sounds like Christian, he's been awesome on here. He's been commenting a bunch. He's been tagging his friends, you name it, and he sounds like he's newer. So this isn't necessarily just about RUNR, but you guys have been in the roofing space for a while, and you guys know some stuff. So he says, how do you stay busy during a time like this when you're fairly new in business?
You're a roofing contractor too, so we could both kind of comment on this.
Yeah, I'll follow you.
But the reality of it is, when you're new, you're busy because you're busy. You're wearing all the hats. You're doing everything, right? So when it comes to staying busy, when it comes to generating business, there's always something you could be doing, right? When you're new in business, it's your job to network and let the world know that you're a contractor, that you're a roofer, that you're in the market. So you should spend every waking moment that you're not doing logistical things, like every waking moment trying to build your brand and get out there, network with people, interact with agents, real estate agents, and knock doors. There's something you could be doing every single day to put your name out there. Marketing, social media, create videos, create content, process, and I mentioned some of the marketing stuff, networking groups, get involved with local communities. We could spend a whole day on this, but there's lots to be doing. So wake up every single day and have a list of things you want to try to accomplish. Prioritize the most important thing to drive business, to grow your business, and do that one first, and then continue to work through your list each and every day. Build yourself a good habit that way, and just make sure you're prioritizing and executing and staying focused on growing your business. And you got to will it to happen, man. You got to really have that like belief and desire to will yourself to success.
Gavin, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you make a couple of great points, and I know, depending on where your business is located, like Colorado for the last few years got really lucky that they had a bunch of storm activity. So it seemed like you were always going after these high dollar jobs. And, the focus has shifted a little bit to where, we focus on the smaller opportunities, right? Go and find some repair business, because the next time that there is a hailstorm, that'll turn into a new opportunity for you. And so while you always want to go look for the home run, I think we've found some success in terms of developing those relationships on a smaller scale, with the hopes of hitting that home run in the future and kind of setting ourselves up for future success when, every roof that you come across doesn't necessarily need to be re-roofed today.
100%. So great answers, guys. So the whole point of this discussion has been, improving management and logistics of multiple roofing projects and maximizing business efficiencies. Is there any other things that you guys have noticed with just your experience in the roofing space that has helped you increase productivity, remove delays, or anything like that? Randy, you got anything specific?
Well, look at just this last year in the paradigm shift of virtual, right? Being able to have your staff work virtually, you working virtually, being able to do virtual sales meetings and and those sort of things. I think embracing technology, embracing the new shift of conducting business as a roofing contractor in a virtual world is going to open up a huge amount of doors in the future for improving efficiency. This year when we get a storm, I'm going to be working really hard to try to make sure our sales team and as we train, we're adding it to our training, is like, as we're hiring and training people, we're going to teach them now, like, a whole nother element of setting up virtual meetings. You've got Sumo Quote, you have virtual software to do presentations, you have virtual contracts. All you got to do, you can go at while homeowners at work, you can go to the house, do the inspection, and get the measurements, do everything you need to do, get the images, get the photos, put your scope together, and then on someone's lunch break, do a Zoom meeting and sell them a roof. I think that alone is probably one of the most, underutilized but biggest opportunities in increasing efficiency from going forward this year.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have anything you want to add on to that? Yeah, Celeste, Dylan, anything you guys want to add on to that?
I mean, I think that's great. And my job in the company and our goal with the business is to introduce a new way of doing things into a somewhat archaic industry, and getting people to take advantage of technology and allowing technology to make your business more efficient. And that's anything from Zoom meetings and the virtual world to managing logistics from your telephone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, I think 2020 for us was just about doing more, or at least the same with less, and there was a completely new learning curve in terms of selling virtually and getting up to speed in that regard. And couple that with then your supply house, potentially their will calls closed, and so you got to find a solution for that. So I think there was a ton of opportunity to learn from all the adversity that we all dealt with this past year, and it just created a bunch of efficiencies within our organization that has made us just better operators. And so as things normalize, like, we're really looking forward to utilizing all these tools on a daily basis. Randy, to your point, being able to sell and not have to get in your truck and drive across town to do so, if you can do that effectively, like, that's a huge win in my book. And so I'm really embracing the change that we've been forced to endure, I guess, so to speak. So
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I were, let's go back to 2009, right? That when we were all just hustling, right? Driving all over town, just I was going between Parker and like Golden, on a day-to-day basis. It was crazy, working 12-hour days. If I could have just set up Zoom calls, imagine what kind of volume of sales. I mean, it's incredible. Like, just imagine your day. Okay, storm happens. You're busy. You're spread all over the place. You coordinate your day. All right, I'm going to be in one location for the morning, one location for the afternoon. Get all my data, photos, and all the information I need, all the inspections I got to do, and then I'm going to set up 4 hours at night where I'm going to do 3-4 sales calls, and every single night. Like, imagine how efficient and how much volume you can sell doing it that way. It's like, so for those salespeople watching, take heed to this. Like, you have an opportunity to scale your business, to scale your opportunity, to scale your sales productivity drastically by embracing technology. And trust me, people aren't actually embracing it. It's a good idea, but people just don't want to change. They're not comfortable with change.
Mm-hmm.
If you can embrace the change and be a trendsetter with this, I see just like a world of opportunity and growth from a sales perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think we see that in RUNR. We're not really selling against any, competitor. We're just selling against the way that things are, or the way that things were done. And, I know Celeste has heard this rebuttal several times. She's like, well, I've got a guy on staff and he kind of does that for me. And our response is just like, could he be doing anything better, to benefit your company than sitting in traffic, wasting time? And, so I think, yeah, absolutely. To your point, like, let's utilize all the technical tools that have come out of the last 12 months and really make ourselves, better companies, better contractors.
So how do people get on RUNR? Explain that process. And then if you're not in their market currently, is there a way to kind of stay in touch with you for the latest news in terms of you guys going into different locations?
Yeah,
Do you want me to
absolutely.
answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so a couple ways. If they go to myrunner.com, they can set up an account. That account will automatically get notified. We'll get an email that they set up an account with us. My job is to reach out to them directly so that they have a local representative and that personal touch within the Colorado area. So as long as they just go to www.myrunner.com, they'll be able to sign up with an account, and I'll reach out to whoever creates an account. If you're not in the state of Colorado, feel free to email me at celeste@myrunner.com, and we'll keep you posted with any updates on our next expansion or the next market that we're going to be in. I think that's it.
Yeah,
that's perfect. Yeah.
Just a couple of follow-up. Sorry,
You're good. Roll.
It functions, very similar to your other supplier relationships that you have, right? Where you have a line of credit, you get billed monthly, you pay monthly, and so it gives you that cash flow flexibility. And then also, we don't require a credit card on every transaction to be able to make a purchase.
Cool. Got it. And so for those people listening on Facebook, I put it in the comments. So that's email and the website. But for those who are listening on the podcast, MyRunner is MY. So my, and then runner is RUNR.com. Okay. All right. So, but as we were closing this thing out, we always end it on a golden nugget, and I make sure that Randy goes first, right? So it's a golden nugget, knowledge, advice, anything you want, things to avoid that you want roofing contractors to know out there. So I always make Randy go, and he's so insightful that even at episode 137, he still has just fantastic information to share with the world. Randy, what great advice do you have to share with us today, my friend?
Don't eat yellow snow. All right. I said that live, didn't I? All right. So, no, actually, I had a little chance to talk about this, and this is something I've been kind of contemplating a lot. And I try to take away either something from the show or from, I'm coaching and consulting all day long. So, there's always great conversations to be had on a day-to-day basis. And one of the things that really came up today, and I think it's relevant to, Christian and some of the guys that are just getting started, your success is going, to be directly correlated to your will and your belief. And I think the first part of, what we have to do as leaders and as entrepreneurs is we have to will ourselves to success, and we have to 100% believe. We have to absolutely believe without a doubt in what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to do. That belief and that will that you have to be successful and to grow your business and to get to a certain level, that's gonna take you so far you don't even know. You can't have doubt. You have to go all in and be all in all the time.
All in mindset, all in attitude. I love it. All right. So Dylan, I'll let you go, and then Celeste, you'll close it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I kind of, echo what Randy's saying. Like I just look back to, when I started my business, you just go for it. Like your back's up against the wall and you got no direction to go but forward. And there will be problems, but you'll figure it out along the way. And that to me is the most empowering moment of if anybody's, entrepreneurial journey is just taking that first step and really putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, to the world, because it's exciting and scary at the same time. And I love that feeling.
Mm-hmm. Gotta love it. The thrill of the game. All right, Celeste, what we got?
So this is kind of envelops all of it. There's only two things that you can control: your attitude and your activity. So knowing your value and your worth, as far as your time is your most valuable commodity. So know your worth and your value of your time. And then control the amount of activity that you have. So like to jump on what Randy said, and Dylan said, you have to just go for it. And if you can control your attitude in the process and the amount of effort that you're putting into something, I mean, this success will kind of follow. You kind of create your own luck at that point.
Make it happen. Create your own luck. Amen to that. And, you know, on one side note, I had it, Johnny wrote here, Randy's posture is looking fantastic right now. Namaste, Yogi. Why is your posture so great, Randy?
Why is that?
Because I threw my back out. I have to sit a certain way or else it's throbbing. You really want to know?
I knew that, but I figured we had to bring that up. That's great. Celeste, Dylan, thank you so much for joining us on episode 137 of the Start Build Grow Show. It's been fantastic to have you on.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Great seeing you guys.
Bye.